Hey, Brian here again for another Top 10 Coalition moment. I'm in the car with Scott Varian here. He's my chauffeur for today. Also, more importantly, he is our trainer who's training our team down in Carbondale today, so we were able to carpool down here. So, Scott, tell me a Top 10 Coalition moment.
Sure. So it was, I remember it was cold out about a year ago, so it was in the winter. It was pretty early in the morning. I was there with my statistician, so I was a counselor there at Fairview Heights, and I remember there was this woman who pulled up in a big SUV who she tried to talk to us about what we were doing there, but she was in the middle of the road, so we called her into the drive. And I remember at that time I was uncertain if she was there just to argue with us or whether she was genuinely curious as to what we were doing. And I was kind of on the fence because as a counselor, we generally don't want to entertain these conversations that take us away from what we're doing. So the guard proceeded to come out and tell this woman that she couldn't be there in the drive. So I encouraged her at that time to come talk to us and to park, which she did. And I remember her coming and approaching us, and I had a lot of trepidation. I thought she was going to give me an earful, which we're pretty used to. So she started to tell me, ask me what we did there. And so I tried to respond, as I generally do to these kind of questions, that we're there to let women know that they're loved and that they're supported. And that they're not alone in their pregnancy, and that we're there to help them and to be a source of strength for them in that moment. I think she was a little bit taken off guard by that response. I gather maybe she was expecting us to be a little bit more combative or maybe say some pro-life slogans or something like that. But I really tried to communicate to her that we're approaching these women in the dark place that they're at and in their state of fear and loneliness, and to try to be a light for them and to help them out from that. And she started to look to me very emotional and affected by that. And she started to say things that were generally pro-choice. I'm happy that Planned Parenthood is here. I'm thankful for the services that they provide and whatnot. And then it kind of occurred in the back of my mind, something I generally think about, which is a suspicion that perhaps abortion has touched her and affected her in her life. And so I remember saying to her something that is, totally true, which is that one of my favorite things to do on the sidewalk is to speak to women who have had a surgical abortion and to let them know in that moment about the hope for healing and forgiveness and for God's love to touch their lives. And so I started to tell her about this and tell her about those services like Rachel's Vineyard and some others that we get women in contact with who have had that in their life and have suffered the trauma of abortion. And I remember at that moment she kind of said in a very sort of childish voice, she asked me, "So you have something for those kinds of people?" And I said, "Absolutely." I opened to the page in our literature with all of those services. She began to cry, and she started to try to say some more pro-choice things, but she couldn't finish her sentences. So I remember her saying, "Well, it's important women have a choice," or something to that effect. She couldn't finish the sentence. And I saw all of the defenses melting away in real time. And she started to then open up about how she had had an abortion decades prior, and that she wouldn't really speak to anybody about it, but that she regretted it, that she felt like she didn't have a choice. And she started to talk about how, she dotes over her nephew, and she loves her animals and her pets and whatnot. And there was a real moment of healing in that moment. She was crying, and she turned from a spirit of combativeness to a spirit of thankfulness and hope. And so I urged her to reach out to those services that I showed her. And I remember her clinging to that literature that I had given to her, with a very firm grasp a firm grip, saying to me, I'm going to reach out to them, and I just want to let you know, thank you so much for what you're doing here. We exchanged some pleasantries, and she went on her way. And I'm confident, looking back, in the immediate aftermath of that she was going to get that help, because I really did see a moment of God's grace in her life, and a moment where all of that loneliness that she probably felt going into the abortion clinic that day, that young girl, was melting away in real time, and that this was a real inflection point in her life, and that she would lead the rest of her life with that forgiveness and that healing and that intimate moment of God's love.
Well, thank you very much, Scott, for sharing that top 10 moment with us. Thanks for all the work that you do on the sidewalk, both saving lives and helping our clients. And thanks for the ride today. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
So we'll see you next time on another Top 10 Coalition moment. God bless you.